Internet Comic Friends. I'm Travis, and this is, I don't know what I'm calling it. This is me talking about my books. Not really doing No Capes and Monster Comic Review anymore. I don't get that many. I don't get a monster amount of superhero comics anymore. So it feels weird to call it No Capes and fold in the few superhero comics that I do get. But this is what it's going to be. Whatever. I'm going to talk some comics. I'm not really reviewing them. I'm just going to, whatever I feel like talking about them, right? So this would be comics from the week of, I think, February 21st. So as of the recording of this would have been last week's comics. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about Knights number 5. Wyatt Kennedy, Luigi for Michano. Yeah. There's our creators. I'm not going to kill these people's names. So anyway, I kind of talked about this book briefly when I got it. Knights is set in an alternate reality. The United States is a little bit different than what it is now. This is set in Florida. Florida is still part of Spain. There are supernatural entities in this. The group of people that are kind of living together and are friends. They live with a skeleton. He's a ghost. Ghosts are somewhat common. Basically, people who die that haven't resolved whatever they need to resolve. Once they resolve that, then they can move on to whatever else, if they choose to, it seems. There are other supernatural entities. A main character in this is a girl named Gray. She is hundreds of years old. She's a vampire. That's her down there floating in the water. In this issue, the kids decide to go to a water park. Drawing a blank on his name right off the top of my head. He is one of the main focuses of the book. He kind of has a thing for Gray. And they invited Gray to the water park, and they are playing the water park. Gray has kind of an internal battle going on at the same time while she's at the water park. And on top of that, there is a secret government agency that is out to get Gray. She used to work for them at one point. They feel like Gray's gone rogue, and a rogue vampire is kind of a nuclear bomb just basically waiting to go off. She has this, like I said, this internal battle going on. There's a little girl kind of in her head that she is talking to. I don't think the little girl is the good guy in the grand scheme of things. She basically Gray ends up shutting down. Her body does. And she sinks to the bottom of the pool, and they can't move her, and it's starting a giant incident and whatnot. I really like the art in it. It's pretty cool. I like the whole vibe of the book as a whole. Here on the back, not that this is reviewing the comic itself. Here on the back, so you got a Spotify. If you're into Spotify. They have a playlist. Every issue has its own playlist, which is kind of cool. I'm getting to listen to some new music that I wouldn't listen to otherwise. They also have a shirt of the club. Shirt of the club. Yeah, there's my dyslexia kicking in. A shirt of the month club. And this is this week's shirt. Not necessarily my jam, but I think it's cool. And so for the month, this book is out. The month this book is out. This is the shirt you can get. And then after that, it's done, and then the next issue has its own shirt and whatnot. I don't know. It's just kind of cool. And the shirts are done by different artists and whatnot. This month's design is by somebody who does Infinity Runners and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So that's, I don't know, that's pretty cool too, as far as that goes. Here's our art style. There's teen angst and drama going on, which is also weirdly messed with because, of course, Gray is a vampire. But it's fun. I mean, they go, water sliding and all the antics that go on with that. It even has a little bit of what I want to call the manga-esque type artwork, which I am generally not a fan of, but it's done in very small minute amounts, which I don't know. I don't mind. It makes it cute. See, here's their friend who is a ghost. He is trying to play computer games. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoy the book. It's got, like I said, it's got some interesting vibes in it. It's got some funny moments and whatnot. This is inside Gray's head. She's traversing the landscape inside of her head to try and escape. She's trying to escape somebody, but that's probably not the person that she wants to escape. But yeah, Image Comics, Knights. I like it. Let's see. Let's talk Hellblazer, Dead in America issue number 2, part of the Sandman universe. I occasionally forget that, but the Sandman universe part of it actually has a pretty big deal. John is doing some work for Dream. I think probably his siblings have something to do with what's going on in the book. You can see there on the cover some old Swamp Thing. They gather, John's attempting to gather Swamp Thing. He needs Swamp Thing for his issues. John's issues being is John is dead. He's, I guess, technically a zombie. So he needs some help. He's gathering the stuff. Of course, we as the reader have not being told exactly why he's gathering what he's gathering. Swamp Thing is basically kind of retired. He gathers what's left of Swamp Thing off of a golf course, which I think is pretty funny. This series is so good. The stuff before this is so good. This creative team, Cy Spurrier, Aaron Campbell, Dribbler, are so good. This issue, we meet a kind of a somewhat immortal type character. She's pretty interesting. John uses her to basically help resurrect Swamp Thing. We get some backstory with her, and drama ensues around that. I know that I was watching Sleepy Read Ears review of the book. He didn't care for it a whole lot. Thought it was too dark. It definitely is dark as far as coloration and all. I mean, the book does take place like almost exclusively at night, and it is the rain in a lot of it and whatnot. I don't think that's a colorist's fault so much as that's, if it's a fault, which I don't know that I necessarily believe it is Aaron Campbell. I know when he does his work, he puts in a lot of that dark just to start out with and whatnot. So it definitely has some darkness to it, but it also has some head trippy moments that I don't know that aren't black and whatnot. But there's some cool stuff in here. You get some interesting takes on mythology of this woman's backstory that helps John basically resurrect Swamp Thing in this issue. Love the quality of this book. The covers are a harder stock kind of a thing. It's a black label book, but it isn't square bound, so yay. No terrible square bound, so I can open it up and see the whole thing. Excited to see where this goes. I hope it plays out well. This is basically, if you collected the other Cy Spurrier, Eric Campbell stuff that was right before this, I think it's 2 trades worth that was before this. This is part of the storyline that they originally planned on doing. This isn't them just coming up with something else. This was the story as it was originally intended to be told, is my understanding. I follow the editor. I want to say Chris Conroy is his name. I follow the editor on Blue Sky, and he was commenting on the fact that this is not something they just baked up and decided to do more of. This was originally what they had planned to do. I'm excited for them to get to do it, and I'm excited to read it. Next up is Animal Pound. This is issue number 2. Weigh in and vote. That's funny now. Now that I've read the book, that's funny. So Tom King, Peter Gross, Tamara Bonneville are the creators on the book. So this is described as an Orwellian retelling of the Orwellian um, book that I'm Animal Farm. So we are in a pound. This is a kill pound. The animals have taken over. They chased out all the humans, and now they're trying to figure out how they're going to survive. And largely the discussion is, remember Lucky. Lucky is a dog that the main character, Cat, in this had lots of discussions with about all the animals living as equals and happy together, kind of a thing. And not having to deal with the humans. Well, like I said, they chased out the humans, and so now they have to figure out how to survive together. They're in a pound. There's limited food. A dog ends up killing a rabbit in this issue, so there's some issues around that. I don't personally think if I was a rabbit that I would be happy with the resolution that happened in the book. I find this book interesting. I don't know that I'm super excited by it. If you're reading this, what do you think? So they end up the reason I chuckle about the weigh in and vote is they decide, because they have to figure out how to make everybody's votes equal, right? There are more cats than there are any other creatures, so if the cats all get together, they basically have the powerful voting block, and nobody can ever beat that. So they base the vote, whose vote is strongest, based on the total weight of each species. The rabbits lose out. Who cares? Nobody really cares about the rabbits. The rabbits are definitely the minority in the story. But it's interesting. I'm curious to see how the whole thing plays out. They have figured out in this issue, from talking to one of the kittens, that they have a kitty cam, and if they play in front of the kitty cam, supposedly people all across the internet watch it and donate to the pound, and that's going to get them their money to somehow get their food. And I don't know how they're animals. I don't know how all that works. I guess we'll see, because they're not animalmorphic. They're animals by and large. I mean, they all speak the same language, but yeah. Curious. I don't know. I'm 100% sold on the book, but it is interesting. Okay, next up. Oh, and these are in no particular order. I have a pile of comics. I'm just going to talk about them as I pick them up. Wonder Woman issue number 6. This is another Tom King book. I read a lot of Tom King books, obviously, I guess. Sampry does the art. Mori does the colors on it. Definitely enjoying this book. This issue was, by and large, the fight to subdue Wonder Woman using extreme measures. They're no longer just using the general military and whatnot. They go at her with the crew of villains that we saw in the last issue. So you've got Gigantica and Circe and am I drawing a blank on that little guy? Got it. Cannot remember his name. The guy who always attacks her or other people mentally. Cannot remember that knucklehead's name. Art is excellent in it. It's really cool. The Washington Monument is totally jacked by the end of this. Like, I love this right here. Ooh, that hand popping up. Yeah. Gigantica comes up to the ground to get her. Okay, I'm going to look to see if I can quickly find that. I love this page too. Why do I love this page? It shows the spin. It shows the spin in a way that we can clearly tell it's the spin, because, of course, it's sometimes hard to show motion in comics because they are still things, but that frickin' rocks. What is that knucklehead's name? Let me get through here, see if I can find him. I don't know that it matters. Does it matter? Dr. Psycho. How can I not remember Dr. Psycho's name? Anyway, really, really enjoying the main story. Some good stuff goes on in it. There's some awesome fights. Fight till everybody drops kind of a thing. The backup stories in this are all Trinity. They're all set in the future. John Superman and Damian. I don't know, Batman? I don't know if he's Batman. I don't think he's Batman at this point. He's still just Damian being Damian. But it's set somewhere in the future, and they are babysitting Trinity, who seems to be the daughter of Wonder Woman. And so it's always at her at some age, and the antics that get up to them trying to, get her to go to sleep so they're not in trouble, or that all the babysitter type stuff, and the hilarity that ensues around that. You also get to see kind of instill certain things in Trinity going along. And I believe the story, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my impression, because a lot of it is told through narration. The King of America, who of course is trying to put down Wonder Woman, because it threatens his masculinity and America's masculinity and the way America operates. It's narrated through him by and large, and it feels like it is being narrated to Trinity, like being told that this is all the stuff that happened after the fact. I could be wrong, and let me know if I am. That's my impression of it, but really enjoying this. Excellent book. I really dig Wonder Woman, so when people do a good job, Wonder Woman, she looks great. She's not packing a sword. All those elements really make me excited. She doubles down on the whole made from clay, and that kind of stuff gets played with. Really enjoying it. Okay, so this is Nightwing issue number 111. Some different people on art than the people who normally run art on this. I think it's Basari is the person who's doing the art, as I continue to kill people's names. There's Francisco Francavilla is got a backup story in this. I'm not sure what the point of the backup story, the Gray Sun story, set in medieval times. He's going to be fighting a medieval Joker. I don't know. I like the art, but I don't know necessarily what the purpose of that backup story is. Other than just being a story, I guess. So this issue takes place in Gotham. Somebody is mimicking Heartless, and mostly the story is largely to do with both Batman and Nightwing remembering the trauma of being orphaned, and what kind of care was given to them, how they were nurtured after being orphaned, because there's an orphan kid in this, and that's kind of why they're kind of hoping for him. It's not going to play out that way, obviously, because you got to have drama, right? I've heard tell that Tom Taylor talking about how the fact that the fall of Nightwing is coming, and of course people are upset by that, and his opinion was, you got to fall so you pick yourself up. Back up, that's part of being a hero. Cool. We'll see. I've been really, really, really enjoying this comic as a whole. This issue wasn't exceptional. It was fine. The art is a big thing. The normal artist in the book, which I apologize, I'm not blank right now, or who's been doing the largest share of it, definitely adds to the story, adds to the charm that this book has been. Which it may lose that charm if Nightwing's going to go crashing and burning. We'll see. This comic continues to just drive home one of the biggest mistakes that DC ever did was permanently killing Alfred, because they use Alfred in this because Alfred is such a nurturing person to both Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, for that matter. And so shame on DC for killing Alfred, so the only Alfred we get is in flashbacks. Next up from Image Comics, we have a Midlife, or How to Hero at 50, issue number 5. For anybody who isn't reading this book, basic premise is there is a guy who basically has hit his 50s. He works for the fire department. He works in PR, I believe is what he does, or HR. Because he's afraid of fire. His dad was a heroic fireman who supposedly died in a fire, which just adds to his level of being afraid of fire. Then he finds out that he is actually immune to fire, can control fire to some degree. This issue kind of gets into potentially what his origin is, because he doesn't know his origin. He just figures it's a fluke. There's a special branch of the government, a government agency that is trying to subdue and get rid of him. He's got one of them captured. She's kind of told him what his origin is. It's kind of based around a Puerto Rican folktale about fire folk, and that potentially he is like 1/5 fire folk or something like that, and that's why he can do what he can do. But their goal always is to not only capture but eliminate all these fire folk. That they have secretly been keeping the world safe from fire folk, and anytime the fire folk show up, they suppress it. But the real fun stuff is we get lots of great flashbacks to the mid 80s, early teenage years of these people. And I think it's great because the guy's basically kind of the same age I am, so the flashback stuff is extra funny to me because I remember that stuff in some sense. I remember those first Batman movies and whatnot, and how we felt about them. Those of us who thought we would never see the stuff that now, superhero shows and movies and all that kind of stuff seem like, there's tons of them, which we would have never thought was possible. If you had asked me when I was 15, 16, no, never going to happen. But anyway, so there's that flashback stuff, which is lots of fun in the book and stuff. And it also has to do with this guy trying to decide. I mean, this is potentially a threat to his life, his life and his family, and he's thinking about retirement soon, and maybe he shouldn't be doing this. He's going to give it up. He's not going to give it up because he has this, this special, ability that should be used. He can save lives. He does save lives. I really like the art in it. The art is by Simone. They did the art on another book I really liked. What was that called? Under the Influence, by Mad Cave of Comics. Really dug the art in that. That was actually a pretty cool story too. This is written by Butch Leto. Used to be a colorist for a lot of stuff. I don't know if he still does color work and whatnot, and then started writing. He's got this. He's written some DC stuff. He for Aftershocks Comics, he writes the Chicken Devil book, which I absolutely love. That is a hilarious book also. So yeah, good stuff. I'm really getting a kick out of that. I hope it sells well enough to have enough legs under it to to go for a while. Because obviously, 5 issues, we're not close to having a story done. But I'm assuming we're basically at a point where they'd stop to sell a trade and whatnot. So I'm hoping that that they can make more of it with that. The next up here, we got Invasion. This is issue number 3. This is out by Oni Press. This is a Cullen Bunn book. I usually pick up pretty much whatever Cullen's doing and check it out at least. I have been enjoying this book. Sabatini is the artist on it. This book is evasive. It's about evasive surgery. It's about people who are addicted to having surgery to the extreme, like they just continue to reshape their cheeks and chop their noses and trim their ears, and more extreme, get rid of ribs to look skinnier, just lots and lots of stuff like that. And in amongst that, there is somebody who is snatching people, kidnapping them, and doing extreme surgeries on them, and horrific botched surgeries on them. And so we have a detective who was on a case about that, and that case kind of broke him. He's basically been let go from the force because he's so obsessive about it, and hasn't been able to really solve it and whatnot. And a doctor whose daughter ended up being a victim to that. They both have done extreme things in the name of trying to figure out who it is doing this and tracking them down. She's had surgeries done on herself just to try and figure out if she can find it. He continues deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of going to the equivalent of AA meetings across a wide area, trying to find who it is that's doing this. And in this issue number 3, I think it's only 4 issues long, they have found they think they've found who it is that does it. I quite enjoy it. The art is sort of it works for what's going on. I'm opening this up. Yeah, see, here's the victim of some of the extreme surgery. Let's see if I can not get the light to shine on that quite so much. I mean, he's basically missing his lower jaw. This kid, he draws pictures, and he's actually drawing pictures of where they should be going. In this issue, they're at a hospital visiting the doctor's daughter before they go in to the place they think they need to go to. Some of them get attacked there and whatnot. One thing I do have issue with this, and this is just a purely technical. I'm not a professional. Clearly, what do I know other than having read comics for 4 years? What I think works and doesn't work. What bothers my eye doesn't bother my eye. These 2 pages, the panel breaks in the center here, where, let's see if I can do this or not. No, I'm out of practice pointing at the camera in a weird way. That kind of weird break, it almost makes it look like, oh, is this supposed to be a 2-page spread, and that didn't line up right? It didn't line up right. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That kind of stuff bugs me, though. Because the rest of the comic doesn't have that kind of stuff in it. But that break just really, those tangents, or whatever they're called, that just, I don't know. That bugged me about that issue. I actually took pictures of it with my camera, and I was going to post it on Blue Sky and grumble about it too, but decided not to. As a whole, I try to talk the good and not the bad about comics. And if I don't like it, I just say I don't like it. Last issue I'm going to talk about is this is the Six Fingers, issue number 1. The sister comic, as you would, of The Hand. This one is done by Dan Waters, writing it. Sumit Kumar is doing the art. Lee Luridge is doing the colors on the book. Ram V is writing the other half. I apologize, I cannot remember who the artist is on the sister companion book. In the companion book to this, the story is being told from a retiring police detective. This is set in near future, I believe, but it's a retiring police detective who has spent a large majority of his career putting down this serial killer, which he's done multiple times because somebody else just keeps picking up the mantle, it seems, or he's been arresting the wrong person, and another murder has happened, and so he is not going to retire until he at least gets that case figured out. This issue, this comic, by these people, is telling the other half of it. This actually shows us kind of how the crime was committed, and who potentially did it. So I'm curious to see how the two run with each other. I'm enjoying both books for what they are. I now know what that weird... So this door is open, right? And there's that, I don't know, looks like a bunch of hands stacked up. That's actually a piece of living art, bioengineered. It's actually a giant column of flesh and whatnot. Our main character in this, or what seemed to be the main character in this, is a archaeologist who has a basically a nail of unknown substance that was found by his father, but it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and he wants to go on an expedition to fund. He wants to go on an expedition to see if he can find out the origins of this thing, because it could be like there's a whole other civilization operating in another way. Does that have anything to do with the actual story? I have no idea. Because the guy is presenting this stuff. He goes to get his paperwork out to show how budgeted it would work to do this, and the paperwork is gone. He freaks out. He tries to find his paperwork, can't find his paperwork. It seems like it's kind of like he knows he did this stuff. Find out that he didn't really work on that stuff. It's kind of like lost time instead of doing that. He kind of follows his, what he did last night, and it occurs to him that he wandered off someplace and didn't actually write this paper. Instead, he potentially committed this crime. So, but yeah, I dig it. It's got some wild stuff in there. His nighttime job is he is a person who dispenses of nuclear waste or battery waste, and don't know if that has anything to do with the grand thing. There's the sculpture. Just to get a picture of the sculpture. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm really interested to see where it goes. Both issues, basically by and large, set up what is going on. So we'll see going forward how those two issues, tie together from both ends of it. Does one side spoil it? Because of course, I'm not sure how much of a mystery this is versus horror. But obviously, if you're writing a detective type story, it's more of the mystery. So if the mystery is in that issue, and then this issue tells us what it is, that's going to be an interesting tightrope for these guys to walk. I know they're good buddies with each other, and they've supposedly talked lots about this before they got started on it. But I'm curious. I'm excited to see what it is. I really like these creators. These group of guys are writing excellent stuff kind of across the board. I'm excited. I mean, I love Ram V's Detective Comics. I love his Many Deaths of Layla Starr. I like Rare Flavors. Dan Waters. I have liked pretty much everything he's done. His stories of Gotham with the Ten-Fingered Man and Azrael have been excellent stuff. Deep Roots, old Dan Waters book, I really enjoyed. I'm trying to think of some of his other people. I'm drawing a blank right now. Shame on me. But I've enjoyed it. He's done some work with Danny, the artist Danny, I have just really liked. Dealing with metaphysical stuff and whatnot. But anyway, that's it. I'm running a half hour. Who watches a half hour of me rambling? Anyway, that's it. What'd you think? Did you read some of these books? Am I completely bonkers? Let me know. Discussions. I like that. That's why I'm doing this. I want to talk comics. Have a good one, everybody.